Incredible. Okay, so obviously this masterclass, as you guys saw, is all about how to be a coach. So I just wanted to prepare a little presentation for you guys to help you know what to look for and what to work on in your own business, or especially if you have been a coach or been in an adjunct for a while. This is really helpful information to pass down to your newbies and anyone that's just starting out. Or if you've been on a break and you're diving back in, it can feel really overwhelming. And so I compiled kind of like 5 main points that I think are really helpful to work on. So I'm going to pull that up. Just give me 1 second. Great, and present. All right, I'm gonna assume that you guys can see this all okay. Yeah, how to be a coach. Just gonna like make the little screen smaller. There we go, that's better. And I'm also gonna pull up the chat box. Sorry, there's like so many like little toggles to get sorted before we start. Incredible. Okay, that should be good. All right, so how to be a coach. 5 key characteristics to fully embody what it means to be a coach and close sales because of it. So we're gonna dive into these 5. These first ones I would say are the most important. So definitely take notes here on these ones. The first thing that I wanna touch on is it's not about talent. There's always like the fear of getting started, and there's nerves and all kinds of things. And it's like, I don't know if I can do it. I'm not good enough. Maybe I'm not a good enough coach, et cetera. And people think like it doesn't come naturally to me to share. It doesn't feel like comfortable to be sharing on social media or lead conversations. Like I'm nervous, all these things. And yes, for some people, like a sales personality comes very naturally, but it's not just about what comes naturally. It's not just about talent. And so I've listed under like our tip about it's not about talent for being a good coach. There are 9 things that you can consider for your daily workflow that have nothing to do with how good you are or how good you are of a coach. These are just organizational skills and tactics and things to work on. That it does not matter how much experience you have. It doesn't matter how much support you have. It doesn't matter how much money you're making, how many sales you're closing, how many viewers you have on your posts or anything. These are just really good things to integrate and work on. It's going to help you feel more confident. It's going to help your clients feel more confident in you. And especially if you're coaching downlines, I think this will really help them start to step into the coaching role and the coaching mentality. So the first 3 that we're going to dive into under it's not about talent, being on time, work ethic, and effort. These things are totally underrated, but they help us start to feel more in alignment with being a coach and being in charge and being an entrepreneur, being a pillar in our community. Being on time. Obviously, we're a flexible workplace when it comes to like our team calls. That's not what this is referencing, but you know, being on time with your messaging. If you're messaging with a lead or someone and you have given them takeaway information and you're like, hey, I'll follow up with you on Wednesday. So you give them that space to go home, read, think about it, let it ruminate. Make sure that you have that reminder in your phone so that you're there on Wednesday, back in the DMs, like, hey, it's Wednesday. I wanted to see how this landed with you, John. What's new? So you kind of set that reputation of showing up when you mean to. And this is something like, obviously, you don't have to be perfect in this or in any of this, but it's good stuff to keep in mind and work on. Same with like if you are going to share a freebie or a new update and you're posting on Instagram, like tune in on Friday because I'm sharing a free giveaway or whatever. Doing all in your personal power, of course, to follow through and make sure that that's happening on Friday. Obviously, life happens and there are extenuating circumstances. A great example of this is like the floods in Australia, and there's, you know, not service in certain places and it's a crisis and people are in harm's way. So there's always going to be exceptions to these things, but within your best capability, you know, being on time with your word and like your deliverables is a really good way to start to set a solid track record and build up that coaching relationship because it kind of sets you apart as a pillar. Next is work ethic, just like how hard you work and how much you're willing to show up, which also ties in with effort. And this kind of is what I see like your level of priorities and how you prioritize what you're doing. And of course, like we prioritize things that are important to us, and it's okay if that's not always work. However, in the few years I've had in the industry and coaching, you know, there will be times where I'm working with someone and, you know, they're like, well, this isn't working for me or it's not going the way I want it to, but I also know that they aren't showing up, and they're showing up, once every couple weeks, or they're not following through on like the homework assignments or the direction that I'm trying to support them with. And at that point, it's like, well, we haven't exhausted all our resources. The work ethic isn't there, the commitment or priority isn't there, and the effort isn't there. And it's like, yeah, sometimes there's effort, but it's not fully there. And so it doesn't matter how good you are at taking Instagram photos or writing captions if you are prioritizing it and it's something that you are consistently doing and you are actually trying. Like, it doesn't matter how good it is if there is that consistency there. And so these are the first three things to keep in mind when we're like, okay, it's not about talent. Next three things, so there's 9 of these. Energy, passion, and going the extra mile. So again, it's not about a talent when it comes to being a coach. The energy that you put into something is like goes so far, and that can be in your conversations. It looks like my images aren't working here. Sorry, that sucks. They're just like graphics of like working. It's not important. But yeah, basically the energy that you have. So when you're communicating with someone, if you have that like high level energy, that excitement, you are ready to help them problem solve. If this is your lead or your downline and they're like, oh, I'm not sure like if I can afford a Conga machine, for example. And you're like, okay, like that sucks. That's not a very good energy as a coach, but I feel like I totally get it. This is my personal place that I was in when I invested, and there's options. So like if you don't feel comfortable or financially able to invest up front, and Magic has financing options. We can also look into credit options if you're comfortable with it. And there's these different types of cards that you can look into that have different bonuses and points, and you get something out of it in addition. But you work with them to find like a comfortable solution and a comfortable resource, and you bring confidence to the table. And you still bring excitement, you're not like acting down or disappointed or giving up on them. Essentially, that energy makes all of the difference that when you're working with someone. And same with like anyone in your team that's actually working already with you, and like having a positive energy towards them and a supportive energy towards them, that makes you a good coach. Like, you don't have to have all this experience, but it makes such a huge difference. Pausing, Adam commented, this is so very true. When I am in states of crushing and those my team follow, when I'm not being consistent, it's reflected. Not to say they're responsible. Totally. This is such a great comment, Ad. It's true. It's like anywhere in network marketing, in coaching, in any kind of online sales, like if you are working in a team, and you could also argue and say that this is applicable to any kind of workplace at all, it really reverberates like whatever you're putting out. And so having that like maintenance of your energy is a really good quality to work on, that already like sets you apart as a coach and makes you more professional and makes you more successful in the end. And it's not something that you have to be like naturally talented in, right? Next up is passion, like just your zest and your excitement. A really good example that I have of this, you guys probably know Cash within Breakaway or Networthy. And Cash, when she first started out, she signed with Marissa. I was taking Marissa's coaching calls, so I did her coaching call for her. And it was like her first week in the business, and she made like an IGTV and was like, I'm like all in, I'm totally like into this, like this is amazing. I don't think she made any sales yet. And another person that did that was also Gina, who's now Amelia's assistant with calls. And like those are two girls that I can remember specifically, like from the jump, like going out there, like sharing stories. They hadn't made any sales, and they like even said, I haven't made any sales, but I believe in this so much. And like their passion was so transparent from the beginning, even though that's totally scary to jump out there and be like, I love this, I believe in this business model, I believe in this product, it's awesome, even though I just got it. Like, that's a huge risk, right? Like a lot of people could say like, you don't know what you're talking about, but the passion was there. And so like having that passion, yeah, is so magnetic. It makes a huge difference. Again, doesn't matter how experienced you are, how many sales you have, how many years you've been in the business. If you have a passion, you believe in something, people will listen, and it already gives you that street cred. And like we see this in so many aspects of life. And like probably one of the first things that pops into my mind is religion. And like I'm not a religious person, but there's plenty of people on our team that are religious, and when I like see them share, like there's conversations that I've had with some of you guys where I'm like, well, like, what do you think? Like, tell me more, even though like it's not really something that's for me, but like seeing other people's passion and excitement, I'm like, that's interesting. Same with like some of our vegan team members or some of my vegan friends. Like if they're doing something that's totally stoked, I'm like, what is that recipe? Like, what are you doing? Just like seeing the passion that people have behind something that means a lot to them makes it intriguing, and it makes you want to be like, okay, like something's in this, obviously, so I want to look into it too. It doesn't matter how much experience you have. And then lastly, going the extra mile. This can look like those takeaway resources for your lead, hopping on discovery calls, just being like hyper available, obviously within boundaries, which we'll get to in a second. But going that extra mile sets you apart, because the odds are like anyone you're talking to for your leads and your sales, they've probably talked to someone else, maybe not in this specific industry, maybe it doesn't have to do with Enagic or Kangen, maybe they've talked with other network marketers in other fields, but if they're kind of interested in working online and they see what you're sharing, there's a good chance, like 50-50, that they've probably also been interested in it previously. And so if you have like takeaway resources and like ebooks or, you know, a welcome video or packet or graphic or anything that's like a little bit more like, hey, I'll hop on a discovery call with you, like it sets you apart. Again, it doesn't matter how good you are. It doesn't matter how many sales you've made. It's just like a little bit extra. So those are the next 3 things that you can do that sets you apart, makes you a better coach. And the last 3 under it's not about talent is being prepared, being coachable, and your attitude. So being prepared is an epic one. And an example that I can think of for this little category is probably like our coaching calls. Obviously the Breakaway platform is down, and now you guys are doing like your individual coaching calls and your individual discovery calls, and got your back calls and stuff. But something that I really loved that Breakaway had in the beginning was like the questionnaire that like talked all about all these things before you were getting on the phone with them. So you knew so much about everyone. And I think like every single one of you guys that I got on the phone with, like I was able to read all of your answers and see like what was your 5-year plan and what was holding you back and what would you do if you were like making the income of your dreams. And like I knew kind of the path that all of you guys saw where you wanted to go, and it enabled me to like connect with you deeper and have a really valuable conversation that excuse me, could really directly help specifically you and not like the whole. Of course, there's like things all of us will have in common that are helpful to talk about. But when you're prepared for things like that, you have like that deeper connection, and you can facilitate just like more help, more support, more direction. And at the end of the day, as a coach, like that's kind of what it is. It's all about being prepared and being like forward momentum oriented, like focusing on the future. And when you're prepared and understanding where your lead or your client or your downline wants to be in the future, then you can help facilitate that path. Next up would be being coachable. So just being very flexible. If you're trying something and your upline or me or someone is like, hey, like, let's pivot, let's do this differently. Let's, you know, maybe not do this and this as well. Let's niche down. If you're like, no, I don't want to listen to that. Obviously it's good to have your own convictions, and know what you want to do, but also like understanding when to take advice and when to try something new and get out of your comfort zone. And so being coachable also can mean being available, just available to listen and available to learn. That's going to set you apart also as a coach, because like to coach effectively, it helps a ton when you've been coached and you've like been through that already and you are going through it actively, because then it's just like this trickle down effect of information, of strategy, of communication, and it ends up helping the whole a lot better. And then last up, under it's not about talent, would be attitude, which also comes kind of back to energy and passion. Attitude, you know, is like staying positive, staying understanding, staying communicative, and it's like the energy that you bring to the table. And so like, of course, our, like for just quick example, the last like couple calls haven't had our highest attendance, but there's been massive events happening in the world, right? And so on the one hand, I could be like, everyone needs to be on these calls. Like, why are you not? But that doesn't make any sense to do, right? It's much more helpful and supportive and going to encourage more people to show up and make the time for it if I'm excited about these calls and I'm understanding of everything that's going on. We're recording it, we're posting up the recording so people who couldn't make it are on. That's the kind of like attitude that's going to make people feel more comfortable and welcome and stoked to learn versus like having a negative attitude. And this can even like translate in also like our sharing online and how we're talking. Like it's really easy to get in a negative loop, like if things are down in our life and like oversharing the negative. It's great to be transparent, but being transparent and like being like, okay, if I'm sharing, like I want there to be like purpose behind how I'm sharing. So like I'm spreading awareness and information. Asking for help is always an incredible thing. But also like providing a lesson, providing resources, providing motivation. Like there's other aspects to sharing with your attitude that are definitely good to like take into account. So yeah, those are like the 9 tips when it's not about talent. It doesn't matter like how good you've been, how good you're going to be, how much money that you've made or are making. It's just like about these like different degrees of showing up. And if you like step into those, I promise you, you're gonna feel more talented. Like you're gonna feel like, dang, I am like a really good coach, or I do help people, even if you haven't closed sales yet. Like stepping into these priorities helps so much. And it's like a silly saying, but that whole like fake it till you make it. These are kind of those, and like you're not faking it because you're showing up, but when you show up in this way, it's like that saying where it's like dress for the job you want, not the job you have. And it's like act for the success that you want, not where you're like necessarily at right now. So those would be probably the first and most important tips that I could offer that I could think of. But we'll move on. And the next thing that I think is really important for being a coach is forward thinking. And so like kind of thinking ahead, thinking more long term versus temporary. And it's kind of how I said before, like having that like future oriented and like focus on creating a path forward, not just for yourself, but for others. And something that helps me forward think and be more long term is vision and mission. So we talk a little bit about this in our mission statement in the course. I think it's like the 3rd or 4th video in the welcome series. But going and like journaling your own vision and mission for like working as a coach or working with the magic, sharing online, like honestly any path that you want to take, even if it's not with magic, even if you're like trying to have like an education goal or wanting to start a family or literally like anything. I think that having a vision and a mission is really impactful because it helps you get very clear on your goals. So first up, vision. Which is the long-term goal or visible reality behind why you're a coach or where you are seeing your business in the future. So I just made the example of LOPP. So the vision for LOPP is a thriving community of digital entrepreneurs operating their offers with ease and purpose. So that's the vision that I have of LOPP. Now, in the future, in the furthest future I can think of, like what is the why, what is the reality, where do I see us going? And that's it. Like we're this thriving community and everyone in the community is able to operate with their offers with so much ease and so much purpose. And that vision is like because of what we create and what we do. And so having that vision, journaling it out, and the mission is kind of the why behind this vision. Like, why are you doing this? What makes you see this happening this way? What makes you want this to happen this way? So what are you setting out to do more than just closing sales and making yourself money, more than just operating your offer with ease and purpose? What is it, right? What's the mission behind it? And what I wrote down is to make the digital marketplace accessible and understandable for equal opportunity. So the whole goal of like LOPP as a team is like, I want it accessible, I want it understandable so that pretty much anyone, regardless of your background, regardless of your experience, could jump in here, go through our education system, receive our support, and be like, yeah, I got this. I can, go into the digital marketplace. I can work in online marketing. I can make sales online. Like I feel comfortable with it. So that's kind of the mission behind our vision. So you guys are welcome to, of course, copy these if it helps you set sail and get in focus. But I definitely recommend going in and getting clear on your vision and your mission. And of course, all of these things also translate into great content and great like sharing points that you can talk about, because a vision and a mission are also very relatable, helps people get excited about what you're doing, what you're going to do, and just like your offer in general, because it's more than just purchase this and get this. Like there's that emotional attachment to it. Next up, the third tip that I would say for just being a coach and being a good coach, or feeling like a good coach at least, is creating a healthy relationship with fear. And I put a Brené Brown quote here. If you haven't read any of her books, I totally recommend. Daring Greatly specifically. But this quote, daring is saying, I know I will eventually fail, and I'm still all in. So creating this healthy relationship with fear, and just like with failure and not always being super successful, is something that I think we all need to wrap our heads around going into the online marketplace, going into entrepreneurship, and going into coaching. We're not going to get it right 100% of the time. And our methods are going to change and transform so much over the years. Like if I think back to my first handful of Enagic distributors working with me, and the way that I coached them and supported them is completely different to how I coach now, obviously, because now, we're over 3 years in the process and I've had more education, more experience, more time to think and digest and cultivate how I want to show up. And it's not to say that how I showed up at the meeting was bad. It's just different now. It's just more now, right? And so it's okay to evolve. And it's so much better to just start, and start sharing and show up with what you have, knowing that regardless of how good it is or bad it is, it's going to evolve and get better. And having that boldness and being daring to go for it and start. So knowing that like sometimes you're going to be afraid to share, sometimes you're going to worry that you don't have all the answers, sometimes you're going to overthink, sometimes you're going to have imposter syndrome, sometimes someone might say something mean about you in your comment section. Like this stuff is going to happen, but understanding like fear is not going to take away your birthday and fear is not going to put you in any kind of physical danger or harm's way, because it's all happening right in like the same part of our brain. Like when we have any kind of fear, whether that's over like a mean Instagram comment or like an actual physical threat, our brain is like, oh my God, fight or flight. Like we need to get to safety. We need to shut down. We need to not do this. Like we are programmed to stay alive. And so our brain doesn't always differentiate between like real threats and like threats where it's like, that just hurt my feelings, but I'll be okay. And so understanding like sometimes we're going to be afraid. Sometimes we're going to be like, I don't have it all together or know what's going on. But sitting with that and knowing like, I got this. And also I always have tomorrow to show up better, and being comfortable with that, because the amount of times I've seen people almost quit, and honestly, people actually quit over like one thing not going their way, or one thing, embarrassing them, one lead or one person making them feel badly, one, negative review or experience or whatever. It's sad. Like we shouldn't have to quit every time something like this happens. And I think like if we consider an actual workplace where we're like employed, like a 9 to 5, there's a boss there, there's probably tons of interactions with your coworkers or your boss or management where you like leave having that feeling of like fear, disappointment, failure. Like you probably have had a lot of those in your life. You're like, shit, that was so embarrassing. Like, I really don't like this. That hurt my feelings, etc. But you're not in charge, so you feel like, I'm going to stick it out. I'm going to stick through it. Like tomorrow will be a better day, right? But because we are in charge of ourselves here in entrepreneurship, it's so easy when something like that happens to be like, okay, I'm just going to be done, right? Because you couldn't do that at like a 9 to 5 job. I mean, you could, but then you'd be like fully quitting, and like it's a whole thing. So kind of thinking of it in that lens, when you want to quit or you're like, I don't like this, just being like, okay, I'm going to go ahead and just switch gears here, take a breather, and like have this healthy relationship with fear. So on that note, next up, we have boundaries. It's greater than business. So this is kind of how I was saying in the beginning, like it is great to show up all the time. It's great to be hyper available. But overall, like having boundaries is still more important than having business and making sales. And so I think like I've shared this example a lot, and I think I've even shared it like last week or the week before, but I'll share it again because it's like one of my favorite learning moments. One of like my first leads when I first started with Enagic and working online was someone that was like totally out of my ICA. They were not someone I would have normally worked with. They had like a full-fledged successful career. I don't think they really respected me. And they were like asking questions like a lead would, but in a very antagonizing manner. And they would ask a question and I would work really hard and do all this legwork to provide all the really beneficial answers, the science, the comp plan, the patents, the certifications, like everything I could to be like, no, like here's how this works, here's how it's beneficial, here's like, everything. And I was answering these questions and providing all of this for this person, but they're still finding ways to shoot me down because they didn't actually want to learn, right? And we will encounter people like this in our lives all the time, where people like, they don't actually want to have discourse with you. They don't actually want to know. They're not interested in their mind being changed. They just want to find a way to shoot you down. So you could provide them with so much information and they're not going to listen. Having boundaries with stuff like this is so much more important than closing a sale, because otherwise, it's going to give you that anxiety. It's going to loop back to that last slide that we had about fear. It's going to, put the brakes on you or make you feel this pressure, like maybe you should quit or not be doing what you're doing. It's going to hurt your confidence. And it doesn't need to happen because we can set a boundary on that. So basically learning not to compromise your needs just for the sake of sales, I think is a very important thing. Also, when you have boundaries, this helps you stand out as a professional. And so something we did talk about too on our last masterclass was just about not having relationships like dragging on with leads that, they just want to be your friend and you totally appreciate who they are, but you're also trying to do your job and you don't have a ton of extra time. So setting those boundaries where it's like you give someone info, they're kind of like having this dilly-dally conversation and like you care, you do, but there's also so many other things in life to prioritize. Basically saying like, sweet, like it was so good to chat. As a reminder, like I sent you over on email the ebook and I sent you a couple scientific peer-reviewed studies from PubMed. And I'm going to let you look over those and I'm going to follow up with you. It's Monday now. I'm going to follow up with you on Thursday and see how you found everything. So have a great week and we'll chat in a few days. Setting that boundary, there's a professional way to do it, a super kind, empathetic way to do it, but you're protecting your space and your time, and then you don't get burnt out as much. And, I remember when I was first working online, like I was working all the time. Like I was working and not working at all hours of the day because I had every single notification turned on. So anytime I got like a like or a comment or a DM or like something on an ad or an email, my phone's going off. And then someone on Instagram's like, so what do you do online? And I respond, but I'm like out at lunch with a friend or my family or like working out. I'll be like mid down dog and my phone lights up and I'm like, oh, okay, like I need to respond to this now, and like putting everything else on hold so that I could respond. So it was like, I wasn't actually being productive. I thought I'm being productive because I'm always available, but it burnt me out so quickly. And I wasn't actually putting in dedicated thought and time to getting back to these leads and these clients and these team members. And so I have all of my notifications shut off, every single one, except for WhatsApp, because that's what I use for texting for while we're here in Indonesia. But I do not have the name in my message notifications or the text. It's just like new notification. And I don't have group chat notifications turned on, only like individual text. So like if a group chat goes off or anything, I won't know it. So I don't actually know what's happening on my phone until I sit down and get into it. And I highly recommend doing that and shutting off your notifications. It's such a good boundary to have. Having boundaries with conversations, such a good boundary to have. And then of course, like I had to put in the difference in therapy versus friendship versus coaching. And I saw like a very interesting infographic about this earlier this week, so I wanted to put it in here. Of course, like coaching is forward momentum, future oriented, helping someone support a path, like you are on the ground with them and you're facilitating, right? But we are not like diagnosing, and we are not like, it's just, therapy is something that's incredible, but like that's not what you're here to do as a coach. So you can recommend things and advise things, but if there's like real trauma there and real issues, or someone's going through something really deep, like it's good to a degree to lend an ear, but also like referring them to like real professional help versus like trying to take that on as your load. Like we're not trained to do that. And you don't need to feel bad for being like, I can't talk with you about like, your, I don't want to like say anything super mean or like bad, because everyone goes through stuff, but there's like stuff where it's like you don't want to like overstep a boundary. Adam's comment's really good. Coaching is a trade of energy to teach and receiving energy to learn on something specific. Exactly. And friendship, just like we were talking about, like those DMs boundaries, chatting and just hearing about your day and stuff. Like that's not what a coach does. And like you have to think like, billing hourly. It's definitely different in network marketing. Like if you have a network marketing team, you're receiving like residual income and stuff, so you're not necessarily billing hourly. But anytime I don't know about my boundaries with like my team, or my leads or clients or anyone I'm working with, I think about like if I wasn't in network marketing, I was only doing coaching, and like considering like, okay, let's pretend like every single one of these LOPP downlines are actually coaching clients that like specifically signed a contract and hired me, and I was billing them hourly. And so like whenever I'm talking to you, like it's an hourly billing thing. would they feel comfortable if I sent them their invoice and was like, billing hourly for like 60 minutes talking about your mother-in-law, right? Like, no, someone, if they saw that on their bill, they'd be like, why are you, that's not coaching. Why are you billing me for that? And I'd be like, well, because you were taking up 60 minutes of my time. Of course, it's still really good to have personal relationships with people you work with, but using that at your own discretion and like understanding, like if it's feeling like a chore to you and you're like, okay, like this is a lead, they might become a sale. So like, I think I need to go ahead and respond. At that point, like that's where I would put in those conversations like, hey, I'm going to follow up with you on Friday type of energy. Amanda said healthy boundaries are key, but then you do make legit friends forever. Exactly. Yes. And the thing is, like, think of your closest friendships, like your closest friends in real life outside of work, outside of Instagram, like just the people that you have, they probably have healthy boundaries with you. Like if you're like having a really bad day, Holly, like I don't have time to come see you today. Holly's gonna be like, oh yeah, like totally. Is there anything I can do for you? Like there's a good boundary there versus like, what? Like we're supposed to have a meeting or whatever, right? So healthy boundaries actually do create good friendships and good relationships as well. And with that, it gives you time to recharge and also staying true to your ICA, which kind of ties into that first little story I was talking on. Um, you can have people outside of your ICA and your downline that you end up working with, that you're coaching. But when you do your best to stay like on with your ICA and create relationships and conversations with your ICA, it's going to fill your cup. It's not going to feel depleting or overwhelming. You're not going to feel like you're out of your league, essentially, right? Like if I had, this is an example, a lot of you guys know Angie Lee, right? Like she's like a very successful business coach that makes like, tens of millions of dollars. She's like the female Tony Robbins, right? Or Tony Robbins. If Angie Lee or Tony Robbins were like, Brooklynn, we'd love to hire you for a 6-month package and also start a magic business with you, I'd be like, I can't help you. Like I literally can't, just because like I'm not there. You're not my ICA. There's nothing I could do that would really help you. And maybe there is, but like it's going to put so much stress and pressure on me versus actually me thinking, okay, who is the person I've set out to help? Who do I work best with? Who can I actually like solve a problem for, provide real guidance for? So at the end of the day, like I feel so good about this energy exchange. Exactly what Adam had said. Like I feel good about this too. I feel like stoked. And I'm sure like plenty of us have had these lead conversations, maybe even downline experiences where we're like, dang, like this isn't really like what I was hoping it would be. Like I don't feel stoked about this. It puts pressure on you, right? But if we're staying really true to our ICA and like the person that we would most likely help super successfully, it's going to make our job easier. So you set that boundary, but it's just going to make you feel better. And it's going to actually make you a better coach as well. And then I think that this is number 5. Yeah, last up. So the last like tip that I think can really help you feel like a badass coach, even if you're a beginner, even if you haven't closed a ton of clients, even if you've taken time off, resources and routine. Just like being prepared, it's wild how much better you feel. It's like similar, like if you were in school, if you were in university or anything, and you were walking into a huge exam and you hadn't studied and you hadn't been to class in the last 3 weeks and you hadn't talked to the professor and you really didn't even know what was going to be on the exam, you would not feel stoked about that. You would be very unhappy. And so, I would just say these help a ton. So first up would be building evergreen resources. And I really want to stress evergreen. This means it's not going anywhere. It's not expiring. And there's nothing that you really have to do to provide this to them. Like you maybe send a link, you maybe send like a download, and that's like the extent of your work, is like forwarding a link or a download or a video, but you're not doing a ton of legwork and you're not providing all this information from scratch every single time, repeating yourself, answering very similar questions over and over and over again. Having evergreen resources makes a huge difference. It lightens your load a ton, which also helps dismiss any kind of burnout or slow down any level of burnout. It also helps negate any process confusion. So this comes back to how I was coaching in the very beginning. I would be repeating myself a lot with each individual person. I'd be like, okay, now like, did you do this training? Okay, now did you post on social media? Okay, oh yeah, by the way, did you change your bio? By the way, like, oh, we haven't run an ad for you yet. Oh, but of course we haven't. We don't have a landing page for you. And I'm like talking myself in circles and trying to remember the process for each person. But it's like now we have our 4-week kickstart and there's like a whole module in the LOPP course for launching. So someone can go through it, they can ask me questions as they go, they can ask you guys questions as they go, but there's like a really set, okay, week 1, this is what you need to do. Week 2, this is what you need to do. Week 3, week 4, so on. And so that like at the end of 4 weeks, they do have all their ducks in a row, and you or me didn't have to tell them each thing one by one and go through a checklist with them. So it's evergreen, it's there, and it makes our job a lot easier. It also, of course, like makes anything less confusing. So we're not like, shoot, I totally forgot to remind you to change your Instagram handle or whatever it was. It also, Evergreen Resources, I find really empowers self-starting. Of course, like spending time with your lead or with your downline, spending time with you guys, it is an incredible way to build a relationship. But I think that empowering anyone that's working with you to be self-starting is a super good quality to have as an entrepreneur. So when there's an Evergreen resource, we're like, hey, here's this download. Go ahead and read through it. This is something where it's like, they will now have to go and like read through it and block out time to do this. And if they haven't done it, like it's not on you, it's on them. And then they will see the effects of that. Like, okay, crap, I need to scramble, go back and read that thing Brooklynn sent me. So it does help people get in the spirit of self-starting. And it's tools to teach by, like you have something to refer back to. Like, so specifically how it was just like, oh, like the LOPP course has a kickstart, a launch chapter that you can go through. Like it's a tool where like it exists for people going through the launch, but like as I'm teaching you guys right now, I could reference it. It's like a tool there that I can reference. It's also something that your downlines can reference when they're working with their leads. Like, yeah, we're gonna have 4 weeks to launch, like a kickstart period if you start your business with me. And your downline's lead is like, what does that mean? And your downline has not closed the sale yet, so they haven't helped anyone launch yet. And they're like, instead of being like, hey Adam, like what does it mean? Your downline could go in and be like, cool, so week 1 is this, Joe, and week 2 and week 3 and week 4, and then by the end of this month, you'll be launched, Joe. And then Adam doesn't have to walk his downline through all of it. So it's kind of like this passing down of tools as well. Next up would be the routine, which is like, I know you guys hear it a million times, but like consistency is key. So just showing up in that pattern and reliable way. When you are showing up in a pattern and reliable way, it speaks to your success, like coming back again to that like fake it till we make it concept. It's not really faking it, but like you have that showing up, like it's very reliable. Something I can think of is like if you're thinking of like your favorite like restaurant, right? And like we've probably all experienced this at least once in life. Like, you know, your favorite restaurant's hours and like what day they're closed on. And all of a sudden, like if you go and they're closed on like a Tuesday and like you were planning since like last week, like on Tuesday, I'm gonna go for lunch and take my best friend or my date or whoever, and I can't wait. And you get there and they're not open. You're like, what the hell? Like you're like really disappointed. And that's kind of like the thing that we don't want to experience with our viewership and the community that we're creating, our leads, our downlines. When we have that reliability and that pattern, you know, we're helping people not like feel disappointed or feel detached. We're keeping that connection forged really strong, and we're building a track record. Having set availability is also super helpful. Treating yourself like you are a brick and mortar business, like similar to how I was saying, answering DMs at all hours of the day, mid down dog. If I was like a brick and mortar business, I wouldn't be doing that, right? Like you have like a hold line and you have a answering machine. And, you know, I can remember working at Lululemon and we're closing the store at 10 p.m. and then I'm locking up the doors. And then like at 10:25, as we're like doing the cash register and putting away all the merchandise and stuff, people like banging on, they're like, please let me in and buy yoga pants. Like, I just want to buy yoga pants. And you're like, no, like one, we're closed, but two, like we've literally closed out the cash system for the day. Like I literally can't check it out right now. It's locked. And you're like, no, please let me in. Like, you know, if you are going to go somewhere and it's 10 p.m. and you know they're closed, you're just like, I know they're closed. Most people, I know they're closed. I'm not going to go there. And so if you can also build a routine where you have like set availability or set non-availability, it's also going to create a good relationship with your leads, your community, your downlines. But again, speaks to that success. And it's also a really good example to lead by as well. Like if you have boundaries, as your leads become your team and they're working with you, they're also going to learn how to set boundaries, and it's going to be a more enjoyable experience for them working online and so on and so forth. So having boundaries and having a routine, it just sets a really good example for people to show up and feel empowered to show up and feel like they have the chance and they have the space as well. So doing a quick recap of what we talked about, like the 5 tips that I would say like to work on or consider if you're having like a hard week in business, or you're feeling uninspired, or you don't know what to do next, going through these and be like, am I doing these 5 things? What can I do in this list of 5 things that would help me this week? So first up, like it's not all about talent. Those 9 different things that we listed, what can I do in regards to those? That it's not just about how good I am, how much success I already have, how many sales I've closed. Like I don't have to post like I made $10,000 this month. Like of course if you do, like that's baller, absolutely, like rock on. But that's not the only thing to post. There's not the only thing to share. That's not the only thing to do. There's all those other things. So going through that list when you're feeling discouraged and knowing like, it's not just about how good I am right now. It's about how good I am trying to be. It's about the effort that I'm putting in. Forward thinking, so knowing like your vision and your mission, where you see yourself going with this, and like understanding like the point or the purpose. That also helps you avoid burnout, helps you feel empowered, it helps you feel confident, versus being like, okay, I guess I'll just like try to post on Instagram and make magic sales until like, I don't know, either I make money or I suck. Like that's a terrible mindset, right? That doesn't feel good or feel excited. There's not like a goal there. So having like an attainable goal and like a vision for yourself makes such a huge difference in just like your overall excitement, your energy, your passion. Making sure that you're prioritizing your boundaries. Boundaries is greater than business. Sales are nice, but like sanity is so much better. And then resources and routine, like getting yourself online, having like a folder or a list or whatever you need to help you feel like I know what resources I need to send my leads or my team members and at what stage. And also like I know when I'm going to pour into this and when I'm going to turn it off, and have those boundaries and have me time or work on my family or work on my other business or career or etc. So having those set out also is going to help you just feel like I've got it together. I've got my ducks in a row and I feel really good about what I'm doing. So yeah, those are our 5 tips. We have about 10 minutes left. Is there any questions that you guys have? I just wanted to keep that short, sweet, direct to the point. But if there's anything that you guys want to like ask or talk about, you can use the chat box or you can unmute yourself if you'd like to. But also no pressure.
Yeah, I don't think I have any questions, but that was a really good call. Yeah, lots of value. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you. And thank you for tuning in also while there's so much like hecticness going on there. I hope you guys are staying safe. And if there's anything we can do just to like help boost morale and help you guys feel better, please like let us know. Don't hesitate to reach out.
Yeah, thank you so much. It's honestly been like super horrific. Like I'd never lived through something and seen such like devastation with my own eyes. But where we live is like, it's really community focused. So lots of people are just devoting all their time to help out and stuff. But it'll be like a slow rebuild, but
Wow.
yeah, we're lucky there's a big community here.
Wow, that is so like incredible and also like heartbreaking, of course. I'm so glad that you and Charlotte are safe. Like that is so just so scary. And I've been seeing like videos and photos and it's wild. And it's also wild that I've seen like there hasn't been like a lot of government support at all. It's just been like the local community, how you guys said. And like that is so, I'm so happy that you guys like have that community oriented spirit, but oh my goodness, I couldn't even imagine. So I'm really glad you're safe.
Yeah, thank you.
Of course. Yeah, everyone send some love over to Australia and to Shar and Adam, of course. Thank you, Ad. Thanks for tuning in, even though it's a stressful time. It's so awesome that you showed up today, and definitely send Charlotte our love as well. I'm sure she's very busy. But yeah, we appreciate you guys. Sweet. How about everybody else? You guys feeling good? Any cues? If not, it's okay. Always some stuff to digest. Of course, like you guys can always book the Got Your Back calls too. Like I'll just plug that in here, and also for the recording, if anyone needs to get on the phone ever, those are available still to anyone. You can just hop on and chat and see how you're doing and strategize or like anything that you guys need. I'm super happy to get on the phone and talk with you guys. And yeah.
Thanks, Brooklyn.
Yeah.
That was so nice.
Thank you. And it's so good to see you, Malia. It's awesome to have you
Yeah.
on. Thank you for tuning
Yeah.
in. I'm glad that you liked it.
I was glad when I remember about these.
Yeah, it's all good. There's so many things to keep track of, right, in life. So yeah, that's always why we have the recording. But it's so fun, like, to see everybody's faces. So
Yeah.
awesome. And
I,
yeah,
I had a random thing to ask you.
please.
Is the like a back office thing? I looked at my genealogy thing and I'm the only person there and I have a downline. I have somebody,
Are
but they're
you
not showing up. And so I emailed them, but I was wondering if there's anything else I should do.
um
You
do
know how
you
to
have more than one ID? Like because
I have an Ukon and then I
okay.
have my uh like my main distributor ID.
I would check and make sure like you're logged into the right ID because maybe you placed your downline under one of the other IDs. And so like if you placed your hypothetically, if you're logged into your Ukon, but you placed your downline direct to your top ID, when you're in your Ukon back office, you're only going to see what's under your Ukon. So anything like attached to your top ID, you wouldn't see. So I would double check that. But it could also absolutely be a glitch on their end because even if like hypothetically if that downline had canceled their membership, they would still be there, they would just turn gray. So if it's completely gone, I would check that you're in the right ID, or it would be a glitch. So
Okay.
yeah,
Do people
There's
ever
also
put
something.
people under,
Oh, you go ahead, Malia.
do people ever put someone under their amnespa? It's been so long that I don't remember. So maybe I'll look at that one too.
yeah, I would just look through all of them. You can place people under like any ID. So if you are doing like any kind of like hack or you have more than one ID, like people will build out both legs because then at that point like you can reach 6A2 eventually if you have
Mm.
balanced in each leg. So it could be under any ID. Ad, what were you gonna say?
Yeah, this may or may not be the case, but when it depends whether the downline is like technically inactive, but there's a button you can click that says like show inactive down. It says show trailing F bubbles. So like sometimes it's clicked on and it won't show inactive downlines. So maybe that's why.
Cool. That's such
Okay.
a great piece of advice. I totally forgot about that bubble.
Try that
Yeah,
out.
it could just be something like that too. So let me know if you want. We can hop on the phone and talk about it, or I can help email, or you can send me like a photo or a video of your screen, Malia, and I can also look through and see if I can troubleshoot for you.
Okay. I'll
Cool.
try those things, and if that still doesn't work, then I'll let you know.
Okay, yeah, just send me a message either on Telegram or WhatsApp, and we'll get it sorted.
Okay. Cool. Thank you so much.
Yeah, of course. Thanks for asking. Anybody else? I see a cute little baby. Love that. Hi, little baby Zuko. Wow, he has such big eyes. So cute. We love that.
Thank you.
How's it
Say
going?
hi, buddy.
Hi, buddy.
It's going.
It's
We
going.
moved again.
Well, it's looking good on you guys. He looks happy, that's for sure. So cute. Oh my gosh.
Right. Just straight chilling.
Straight chilling. Well, that has absolutely made my day. So thank you for sharing. Super, super cute. Ah, precious. Sweet. Well, you guys, thank you for tuning in. I hope that was helpful. Everyone on the recording, I hope that was helpful. And we'll see you guys towards the end of the month for our knowledge roundtable concept, and that is our Q&A style call where everyone can share information. You can share your own tips. You can ask any questions, and we will have a poll up third week in the month for you guys to vote on like what you would like talked about, and also add your own ideas and concepts that you want talked about as well. So it was a really great last one that we had. So I'm really looking forward to this knowledge roundtable at the end of this month. But I hope you guys have a good couple weeks in between, and I will see you guys super soon. Awesome. Thank you guys. Go out there and be incredible coaches. I know you guys all have the power to do it, and I'm confident. All right. Bye, everybody. Have a good one.